Good evening. Donald Trump has insisted that there was absolutely no collusion between his presidential campaign and Russia after one of his former advisors admitted lying to the FBI over the issue. On a day when the president would rather have been speaking about a major legislative victory on tax reform, he was again forced to defend his campaign's contacts with Moscow. In the last hour, he's tweeted again to say that he himself fired his former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, because of his lies. Well, the president said, "I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president and the FBI. He's pled guilty to those lies. It is a shame because his actions during the transition were lawful. There was nothing to hide." Sky's US correspondent, Cordelia Lynch, has more.
What has been shown is no collusion. No collusion. There's been absolutely no collusion, so we're very happy.
After a bad day of revelations about Russia, Donald Trump emerged from perhaps his best night yet. Senators have passed a major tax cuts bill, paving the way for the president's first big legislative victory.
We passed the largest tax cuts in the history of our country and many other things along with it. Tremendous tax reform, but it was the biggest package in terms of tax cuts ever passed in our country.
On this vote,
the bill was passed by 51 votes to 49 after a series of amendments in a marathon session.
the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as amended, is passed.
Deals were done to push it through. Democrats claim the sweeping changes will only benefit the wealthy and big business. They complain that the last-minute handwritten changes were nearly unreadable.
The bill my Republican friends hope to pass so soon was received by members of this body only a few hours ago. Not a single member of this chamber has read the bill. It'd be impossible. Some of the pages were completely crossed off, and text has been replaced by handwritten notes. When we got the bill, this is what it looked like. This is what it looked like.
Threatening to overshadow a big win for the party is a Russia investigation that's reached Donald Trump's inner circle. But the president insists he isn't concerned about the guilty plea from his former national security advisor, Michael Flynn.
The rain falls on the just and the unjust when you have scandals like this. And so it doesn't matter at this point for the public's mind whether or not there was collusion, though we're in the first stages and chapters of this book. It is going to affect everybody at the White House, especially the President of the United States, who already starts with a trust deficit with the American public.
U.S. media are reporting that Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, is the very senior transition member mentioned in court documents who instructed Michael Flynn to talk to the Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak. It's alleged that Mr. Flynn's former deputy, K.T. McFarland, was also involved in discussions. The special counsel, Robert Mueller, landed a big fish on Friday. The question is whether he has bigger ones still to net. Neither Donald Trump nor the White House know the answer to that. For them, it is an increasingly frustrating and distracting wait. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Washington.
We're joined now by the political commentator Oliver McGee, who's in Texas for us this evening. Welcome to you. How do you think the president is handling the Russian investigation?
I think the president is handling it very appropriately. This is a game of dominoes. Essentially, the White House is doing what I call less is best. This is a show that's run by Mueller, and basically collusion and talking to foreign officials once you are the president-elect and the campaign is over is really not against the law. But essentially, lying to the FBI is. So this game of dominoes is really about Mueller trying to get someone to go to a higher level of discussion in trying to solve his case. But right now, it's in the speculation. No one really knows. It's a really big game of leaks. And so until we get things firmed as to what Mueller wants to do with his case, we all have to sort of wait and see how this unfolds.
Do you think, though, that it's likely to go all the way to the top and this will eventually affect the president himself?
I think that is a very far reach from the left. I think that in this game of dominoes and speculations, this is what the left wishes to happen. But
why do you say that? Why do you say that when we're having Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, named as that senior figure that advised Michael Flynn to speak to the Russians?
Jared Kushner has been very, very forthright and open in his testimonies before this point, so it's quite natural for him to be mentioned. But really, think about this. This is all about tax reform. This is all about derailing that. It has not been derailed. This is what the left wants to do. But right now, this game of dominoes is basically falling apart because tax reform has gone through. When tax reform has gone through and it's been signed by the president, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Democrats to be able to compete with that in election 2020 and in election 2018. If the Democrats have no votes for tax reform and they're voting for no tax cuts for the American people, that's a hard game to play in the election process. And I'm saying that that's a tough horse to ride on. I hope they're in for a bumpy ride because that bucking horse is going to be pretty rough.
So you think what we've recently heard about the Russian investigation has only come to the fore to deflect attention away from the tax reforms?
Well said. I couldn't say it better. Because this is really all about politics. You can tell that by Chuck Schumer's statements, and he's bringing up processes about pieces of paper. People don't vote, and senators don't vote on pieces of paper. They vote on policies. And tax cuts for the American people, particularly in the middle class in America and the Rust Belt states, is good politics.
But I don't follow, though, because I don't see how you're saying, really, that Michael Flynn opting to say that he's guilty of this collusion is deflecting from the tax reforms. I mean, he said that has happened. It's fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fact, and that's Mueller's case, and that is his bellywet. He needs to do his job and wrap this up, and he's probably going to do that with this game of dominoes. But basically, I'm trying to stretch our conversation just a little bit further to the long-range goal here, and that is politics. It's basically the process of this whole collusion piece was trying to derail this particular big legislative victory right now that Trump is enjoying right now. He needed this because we've got a $5 trillion, $6 trillion wealth-created economy going right now, and we've got $4 trillion offshore, and this bill is going to make sure that some of that cash is repatriated. Can you imagine a $10 million economy driving into 2018 and 2020 elections? That's some serious wealth creation in the pocketbooks of the American people.
And this is the only legislative success that the president can point to, isn't it?
It's a big one. It's the biggest tax cut in years, in decades, ever. It's way bigger than Reagan. It's $1.4 trillion tax cut. Plus, he has asked corporate tax rates to drop from 35%, a whopping 35%, to a very, very competitive, globally competitive 20%. That's a big win for the president. Big win. That's why he's in New York right now, cheering like a cheerleader. Remember in the campaign, he said, we're going to be winning. We're going to be winning so much, we're not going to be able to stop winning. He's getting us to win, win, win. Right now, the United States economy has to compete globally. And more importantly, they have to push technology. I say this whole thing is about speed. His economy is very, very fast. It's very speedy. And now he needs a good science and technology advisor to move it and make it faster.
And what would you say to those who are mentioning the word impeachment around the president?
Nonsense. It's a very hard threshold to impeach a president and overturn an election in 2016. That's nonsense. I've always called this Russian concussion. I've given it very, very little time and attention. I'm focusing on what Trump is doing to this economy. And when the news came out that this stock market reached 24,000, that was a big, 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 big win. It's upstaging what Mueller is doing right now. The economy is moving so fast. And once we get the technology to match the speed of the Capitol and get the technology advice around him, this will be a Trump train that won't stop. We'll let Mueller sit down and settle his case and get that all settled out in the game of dominoes. But really, the story today is the economy.
Oliver McGee, thank you very much for speaking to us, the American political commentator there. Thank you.